PvP in Sea of Thieves is a lot more than just turning up and throwing your sword around. I'm going to teach you how to PvP effectively, getting you from here to here.
Oh, and he's still on our ship trying to kill us, and he's wearing a dress. And I'm dead. The ship's going down.
PvPing in Sea of Thieves is what I enjoy the most. Having put in over 1400 hours, mostly solo slooping, it means that my advice now comes from a position where dying once as a solo slooper, no matter how many people you've killed, could mean you lose your ship and your loot. We're going to cover a wide array of topics when it comes to player versus player, and I don't mean ship versus ship, I mean player versus player. Ship versus ship is a topic for another video. It almost always comes down to fighting another player with small arms or swords, and when it does, there is almost always a right choice with how you pick to engage with an enemy. However, let's start with the basics. There are 4 weapons in Sea of Thieves. You have the cutlass, the flintlock, the blunderbuss, and the eye of reach, or as other people say, the sword, the pistol, the shotgun, or the sniper. And they all have their place in Sea of Thieves. It's up to you to decide where you will use these weapons, but I'm going to tell you where I use these weapons. I personally recommend that you carry the blunderbuss and the sword at all times, unless you can foresee a situation coming up. Just because if somebody gets on your ship and you're not expecting it, you can't pick a weapon on the Ferry of the Damned, and the best weapon to defend from boarders and people camping your ship is the blunderbuss, just because it has the one-shot ability. I'm going to run you guys through the reload times and the damage that each weapon does, and I'm going to put them side by side so that you can see. Overall, with those weapons there, most of them have the same reload time, and you can get through 5 shots as quick as all of the other weapons. The only difference is the eye of reach when you ADS or look down the scope. It's still my personal preference to take the eye of reach, just because of the versatility of the range and the amount of damage it does, especially if you're coupling it with cannon shots as well, because the splash damage from cannons can do quite a bit quite easily, and you can get a cheeky snipe off and take someone off the cannon. If you're usually good at hip firing, I think the pistol is probably the best weapon for you, because if you look at the blunderbuss and the eye of reach, their hip fire is both terrible. And with the blunderbuss, even up close, the hip fire is pretty bad. The only times I really hip fire with the blunderbuss is if somebody's trying to jump on my ship, and I'm not trying to kill them, but I'm more trying to prevent them from getting on my ship. You're going to find it very hard to 2-shot someone in almost any situation with any of the weapons. The only time you're going to be able to possibly do that is with the blunderbuss, and that's just because it does 100% damage anyway. With the pistol, if you shoot someone, you're going to chunk them for 50%, delete 1 banana, and they have 70% health, so another shot isn't going to kill them anyway. With the eye of reach, you can hit them for 80%. Then the aim down the sight time and then potentially healing often means that you don't 2-shot them with the eye of reach anyway. There's a very slim chance that you can kill them with the eye of reach if they take a little bit too long to heal, or that they only have bananas on them. I'd recommend, if you get shot by an eye of reach, that you try and heal immediately and hide at the same time, or at the very least, break line of sight. I would say each weapon has its own unique utility. The pistol, for example, is great for hip firing, which gives you better mobility. The blunderbuss has a knockback, which is great for crowd control, and the eye of reach has range. Picking the right weapon for the situation is vital, especially when you're on your own. It doesn't matter too much when you're playing with other players. With the weapons out of the way, let's talk about keeping yourself alive. Each different fruit heals you for a different amount. Banana is 20, coconut is 30, pomegranate is 40, mango is 50, and the pineapple is 100%, plus with the pineapple you get 2 bites. All of the meat in the game except for the kraken meat and the megalodon meat will heal you for 50%, give you 25% to your health regen bar, and has 2 bites. The megalodon and the kraken both give you 100% back and 50% to your health regen bar, and have 2 bites as well. When your health regen bar is full, which is the small little circle around the skull, you will then be able to regenerate up to 2 full bars of health. Where possible, have food that you get 2 bites out of. If you've got 5 pieces that have got 2 bites, That's 10 pieces compared to someone who's just carrying bananas, for example. With the right weapon in hand, let's talk about actually PvPing, because I know that's why you guys are here. I do all of my PvPing live over on Twitch, link below. While PvPing, the thing you're going to do the most is you're going to sword fight. I know we spoke a lot about firearms, weapons, whatever you want to call them. The sword is where most of the damage is going to come from. I try to get most of my kills with the sword because it's just more effective. I use the firearms to create a bit of chaos. When you PvP, you want to be the hardest target to hit. I didn't make a great choice with my character, but it works for me. The way you make yourself difficult to hit is by having a lot of mobility. So that's why the pistol is good in this situation. You need to be sprinting as much as you can, jumping as much as you can, and dashing as much as you can. I have a whole video on advanced sword lunging. Just click the eye in the top right. So I'm not going to fully explain how to sword lunge in this video. When you're jumping, dashing, and sprinting around, you're making it so that you're in control of the situation. And that's where you want to be for the entire time.
You sweaty bastard.
No, you! You'll see in that clip that I was jumping around a lot. I actually normally jump around a lot more than that, but looking back at the clip, not as much. But when I did jump, they took a shot and it missed. That's what you're aiming to have happen. When you're using the sword and you jump and you're slashing them from the top, you're making it so it's harder for them to block. Because when you block, you're only really blocking where your screen can see. So if you're jumping around, you're making it easier to get around the player and get behind them or get to the side of them.
Oh, and he's still on our ship trying to kill us, and he's wearing a dress. And then the ship's going through.
So in that clip, you'll see me jumping around. You also see that person jumping around. That person was actually a good player. I just outmaneuvered him. The little hop, jump, and dash at the end made it very hard for that player to track me, and it allowed me to get a lunge off. And getting a lunge off in a close quarters is probably one of the hardest things you'll do. I did make a mistake at the end of that clip. I shot the person on the ladder, and at the moment, there's an invulnerability bug, where if you're on the ladder, most of the time you don't take any damage.
That's all you jump in.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to occupy them.
Coming up to a sell point if anyone wants to maybe jump off.
Alright.
I'm literally taking no damage. I'm not even grabbing or anything. So what you want to do there is you want to wait for them to get up fully. Yeah, it exposes you to taking some damage, but it also guarantees that your shot's going to do damage if the hit registry plays ball. With that lunge, I was actually trying to kill, but I knocked the person off the ship. And for me, I consider that a fight reset. They did grab the ladder, which was actually beneficial for me because they put them at a severe disadvantage. The ship was moving. They had to get back up if they wanted to save the ship. They were in a very bad way. And again, if you're wondering how I'm doing those dashes and the advanced sword lunging stuff, click the eye. Being quicker and more agile than your opponent in this game is very, very important because a lot of the damage comes from the sword. A lot of the damage comes from being close up with someone. If you can get behind them with a dash or a lunge or a jump, it's often a free hit. Overall, just keep moving. Make yourself a difficult target to hit. Don't stick to a pattern when you're trying to dodge. Don't just go left, right, left, right, left, right. Mix it up a little bit. Go left and then go left again, just so that you can confuse the enemy. They'll get used to your pattern and they'll just predict where you're going to be. Keep your health above 80% at all times, unless you know that they don't have an eye of reach. Even if this means breaking contact with what you're fighting, pull back, heal, and then re-engage. Again, this is situational, because if you're with a teammate, or you're just on an island, and it doesn't really matter if you die, then you can pick and choose what you're going to do at that time. For me, as I mentioned at the start, I'm mostly solo, which means dying for me usually means I'm going to lose my ship and the situation itself. On the counter to this, if you're part of a team, don't just back off immediately if somebody hits you. If you're all attacking one person, it's going to be very unlikely that they're going to kill all of you. Unless you put yourself in this kind of panic situation.
I think that's another bug now. If the ship's moving, you can't take damage. Like if you're in a moat as well, you can't take gun damage.
They've got purple coming towards us as well. Nice job, guard are anchored.
All 3 are dead. Oh, 4 are dead. Where none of you are really paying attention. If you 1v1 someone, try not to get hit. But if you do, always heal above whatever their kill shot item is. And if that's the blunderbuss, use range as a makeshift healing device. So that when they fire at you, they never outright kill you, but it allows you to then close the gap and kill them instead. Anything above a 1v1, try and separate them, and especially don't let them stand inside of each other. That's where, when I fight multiple people, that's where I die the most. Because if one person can hit you from that position, the other ones can too. Ideally, if you're going to fight more than one person at a time, you want to bring them into a situation where you can keep breaking line of sight on as many of them as you can, and then dealing with them 1v1. If you're PvPing with a friend, coordinate your attack. This is where having 2 pistols or 2 eye reaches in your setup is helpful, because it allows you to call out a specific player that you're going to try and 2-tap, and then you can move to the remaining players. You're going to find yourself in 4 or so different situations when it comes to fighting another player. One of these is going to be in the water. I found the best way to deal with somebody in the water is either get the first hit or make sure that you attack after they've missed a shot or run out of ammo. Just remember that every firearm in the game only has 5 shots. And here underwater, where you've got 5 pieces of food that you can bite twice from, is really going to win you the fight. While unrealistic, if you have 5 Kraken or 5 Megalodon meat on you, they're just not going to kill you regardless. So you can wait until they use all of their ammo and kill them under no pressure. If you find yourself fighting people from your ship into the water, make sure you can get to the ammo box before they can get back on your ship. It's a lot easier on a sloop and a brig than it is a galleon, but they're not going to be able to resupply from the water. Keep trying to bait their shot and healing up if they do hit you, and keep your food and your ammo full. If you're the one in the water, it's a lot more difficult, because you know that the advantages we just talked about then is exactly what they have. Your ammo is limited because you can't resupply, and your health is limited because you can't resupply your food items. Unless you know they've already taken damage, you want to dive down deep until you can get close enough to the ship to make your boarding attempt. Your main goal is to be getting out of that water. This for me is where the eye reach really shines, because you can pop someone on top of the ladder, they'll take 80% damage and they'll panic and they'll back off. Most of the time, no matter what food they've got on them, they'll back off enough that you'll be able to climb up and get on. And that's where you want to be. My favorite tip for boarding ships, and I know this is player versus player, but kind of counts, is to attempt one ladder, get down, swim to just over halfway, turn around, go back up, grab the same ladder and just go straight for it. 9 out of 10 times they're looking at the other ladder. I don't know if it's just an audio positioning bug or something to do with people playing on Xbox speakers, but most of the time they'll be looking over that ladder and you'll be able to get on board. It's very rare that you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're in pure open ground. However, if you do plan on going to an island, I definitely wouldn't take the blunderbuss with you, especially against good players, because they realize that your range is very limited and that your damage is going to be very low. But if you do find yourself in this situation, let's pretend there's no rocks around, treat it much like you would if you were fighting in the water. Try to either get the first hit or capitalize after they miss. Failing that, again, if you have really good food, you can just tank a few shots and really put the pressure on them instead. However, when you're on land, you're probably going to have a lot of cover, so just keep moving in between. And as I mentioned before, change your pattern up a little bit. Try not to emerge from the same position more than 2 or 3 times. Switch it up by appearing from a different position. Even the worst of players can train their aim on the corner of a rock. If you find yourself in really close quarter situations, which is generally every time you're on your own ship, make sure that you don't try and focus too much on using your firearm. Feel free to use it as a quick hip fire, but then focus on using your sword. Don't get caught with trying to heal in the middle of a fight, because the sword will stun lock you. You won't be able to turn the full direction, and you won't be able to move as much. That's pretty much all I got for you. I'm sure when I finish this video, I'll think of something else. But if you think of something, put it in the comments. I'm just going to run through the list of things that we've covered and hopefully give you a bit of a recap. We covered the weapons and their place, food regen, what it does, and what you should carry. We briefly went over sword fighting, where your aim is to get around their block and to make it hard to be hit. We covered 1v1s and 1vx, and lastly we went over some locations where you're probably going to end up fighting. PvP in Sea of Thieves is very unique because it's player versus player. It's very difficult to predict and everybody's different. This is all my opinion and my advice and my experience. Hopefully you can tailor it for yourself. But if you take anything away from this video, take away these key points. Keep your health above their kill shot range. Pick the right weapon for you and the situation. Make use of the food that has 2 bites. Most people don't. Be unpredictable and be aware of who and what you're fighting and what they have left. Hope this has been helpful. If I've missed anything or you want me to elaborate more on a topic that we've covered here, let me know and I'll make another video. I've been ToejahM and I've been your temporary ship's captain. Happy hunting.
I guess so. Next
And
door
looks like
to me.
yours. See you later.
Sorry about before as well.
Don't be sorry, man. It's a pirate game.
Until the next time.